Hi, my name is Hugo Loyola, and I am a business consultant in the Orange County Inland Empire SBDC network. As you can imagine, we get a lot of questions that are very frequent. Today, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about what the EIN number stands for and how you can get one. I'm also listing in the chat, if you can see the chat right now, several resources that I'll be happy to leave there for the time being. And I'm going to share with you how I found these resources online. So basically, my goal is to explain what it is the EIN number, how to find where to go and start an application for it, whether you need one. You can also read all about it from various sources. But let's just start by sharing my screen, and let's dive right into it. First, I like to start with a Google browser, and everyone shares for information differently. I like to use some of the keywords up front. So EIN number, and then I type in things like, what is it, right? And that's going to give me a lot of options. I tend not to spend time in these ad links because essentially they try to sell you always something. So, and Wikipedia, has a very interesting and simple explanation of what the employer identification number is. I like to look at things like people also ask, because that gives you access to some variants of the same topic and other resources. But I usually go right into the first or second links on the search that are not ad driven. So as you can tell, lots of interesting links directly from the IRS. And I know it's official because it's the irs.gov official site. So we can learn about what is the number. I can start an application online. If I need to understand how to, before I start the application, here's my third link, how to apply for an EIN, Internal Revenue Service. So let me just start by opening some of these links. And I know it's a lot of information to try to digest. So try to spend some time reading, these related articles. Do you need an EIN? Do you need a new EIN? How to apply for an EIN? So you can spend some time reviewing these links. Essentially, once you review the information, you'll be able to click here to apply for it online. And it really is a very simple process. It's entirely done online, and that's the recommended way to apply for one. But if this is too much information, you might also want to look at some of the other links. I like this one here from the Small Business Administration that makes it much more digestible and is really well explained, right? So an EIN is a unique 9-digit number that identifies your business for tax purposes. It is similar to a social security number, but it's meant for business-related items. As a business owner, you'll need an EIN to open a business bank account, apply for business licenses, and file your tax returns. It's helpful to apply for one as soon as you start planning your business. This will ensure that there are no delays in getting the appropriate licenses or financing that you might need to operate. So who needs an EIN? An EIN is needed by any business that retains employees. However, non-employers are also required to obtain one if they operate as a corporation or as a partnership, right? If you're not sure whether you need an EIN, you can review this guide from the IRS. If your answer is yes to all the questions in the list, you may need to apply for an EIN. Let's take a quick look at the guide. It's a very simple yes or no, right? And this was published not recently, but it still applies. So you have to answer these questions, right? Yes or no. And that is going to help you determine whether or not you need an employer identification number. Going back to my trusty article from the SBA, here is also a link to the EIN assistant online directly to the IRS. It has this assistant that basically provides us with all of the steps that we need to follow to start our application online. And the process, like I said, is pretty straightforward. Once you click on begin the application, you just have to answer certain questions and continue. There are 5 steps in the application process. First, you need to identify what type of legal structure is applying for an EIN. You might be applying as a sole proprietor or a partnership, or maybe you are a corporation or an LLC, or you're managing a estate or a trust, right? There might be other additional types, including tax exempt and government organizations. But I'm just going to follow this slightly. I'm going to say that I am a sole proprietor. I just started my business working with one of my consultants at the SBDC, and my consultant told me I needed to apply for an EIN, so I'm using this assistant. Now, as a sole proprietor, you need to identify that you are in the sole proprietor as a business and not an incorporated or registered with the state limited liability company. So not an LLC, right? Not an LLC, basically sole proprietor as an individual. You might also be a household employer. If you're a household employer, if you have hired someone to do household work, and that worker is your employee, right? This type of employees might include babysitters, nannies, cleaning people, housekeepers, and the likes, right? Private nurses, caretakers, and the likes. So very important to make sure you read what type of legal entity you are. In my case, I'm a sole proprietor, and I will continue. So I need to confirm my selection, right? So very important to make sure that I read all of this. Again, what is a sole proprietor? Is a business owned by one individual. That's my case. A sole proprietor can be a self-employed individual or an independent contractor. I'm also an independent contractor, so I would be able to apply for an EIN under those circumstances. All right, so read the important information and make sure that you are not a business that is incorporated or an LLC. All right, very, very important to make sure that you read all of this before you continue. Now, I'm still in the identification stage. I have to choose one reason that describes why I'm applying for an EIN. Is it because I started a new business? Or I just hired employees? Or do I need this for banking purposes? Or did I just change my type of organization? Maybe I have just purchased an active business, and that's important for me to get a different and a new EIN for the business that I just acquired. So in my case, it would be because I have started a new business. And now so I finished the identification. Now I need to authenticate. And here's what they're asking me to provide my name, my last name, and then my social security number or item. And you're basically going to use my social security and say that I am a sole proprietor, right? I am not a third party applying for an EIN. So I'm going to use a little bit of bogus information here. That's my last name. And I would type in my social security and then continue. All right. Obviously, some errors occur. I have not included that. Once I complete this process, the last 3 steps of the application is providing with my address, my information, my mailing address, and I'm probably going to use the address that I use to file taxes. So make sure that you use that. And then they're going to ask me for some additional details and then a confirmation number. And that is the process. It's really, really simple. So that is the assistant. I recommend highly using the assistant to apply for an EIN number, now that you know that you need one. Okay. I want to go back to the Google search. This is the SBA essentially. Again, I can access the application assistant through the SBA article, or going back to these recent links that I was showing you, I can also go and immediately go to the application online. The hours of operation, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If we are in California, so remember, we're 3 hours behind that standard time. But if we're going to do it online, I'm sure you can do it at any given time. So you can follow these steps to determine your eligibility, right? Determine your eligibility, understand the online application, submit your application, and here's the link again to apply online. And it takes me back to that EIN assistant. So multiple ways to get to the online application. Let me stop my share for a second. Multiple ways to get to the online application. Make sure you do some research. If you're not entirely sure about the process, you can always get in touch with me or with any of my colleagues at the Orange County Inland Empire SBDC network, and we will be happy to assist you with this or any other questions you may have about applying for a license or a permit, including your EIN number. Again, I'm going to leave those resources there for you to see if you can copy them in the chat, and make sure to stay in touch with us, connect with us. Remember that our assistance is provided to you at absolutely no cost. We are our taxes dollars at work, and we will be happy to assist you with applying for an EIN or applying for a business license or other types of applications you might need for your business. Again, my name is Hugo Loyola, and it was a pleasure introducing you to the EIN concept, and hopefully we'll get to see each other soon. We're here to assist you. Take care. Be well.